We talk a lot of doom and gloom on this channel, but every now and then there's some amazing, incredible news. Today is one of those days. A judge exonerates a man who served 20 years in prison for Georgia slayings. 1985 slayings happened in a Georgia church, and this guy spent 2 decades behind bars. Didn't do it. Never committed a crime. 20 years in prison. Come and gone. And he's out now. I want to go through this story briefly and tell you what's happening here. And a big fat shout out to the Georgia Innocence Project. Congratulations to your organization. Just moments ago, they posted on Twitter, a Brunswick Judicial Circuit Judge, Stephen Scarlett, signed an order fully exonerating this guy. His name is Dennis Perry, of the 1985 church murders of Harold and Thelma Swain. His exoneration is the result of the Georgia Innocence Project, King and Spalding and you. Big news. Very good stuff. There's a great write-up on this over in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. It's entitled The Imperfect Alibi. So if you throw that into Google, you're going to see a lot of good stuff where they go through this. And I want to show you some of the clippings that are in here. So here you'll see a clipping from the actual day on Wednesday, March 13th, 1985, where the newspaper wrote about this. Says the slayings at the church shock Camden. The deacon and the wife are gunned down by an intruder during a meeting. He was a respected, retired pulpboard worker and deacon in the church. She was a devoted wife. Why? Why would a long-haired man in his 20s, why would he go in church and interrupt them? Shoot down the couple. It's a mystery that's plaguing Camden. Harold Swain, 66, 62-year-old wife Thelma shot dead. Witnesses said a slender white man in his 20s with shoulder-length blonde hair entered the church, pointed out Swain and the other two in the sanctuary and asked to see them. Another witness there said the stranger in the vestibule walked her to her car, told the police she heard 4 shots, rapid succession. And we go through the rest of the story. Swain died of small caliber gun wounds to the head. A church member had to drive to a nearby residence. Smith said the authorities thought that the motive was robbery, described them as an exemplary couple, and the list goes on, right? So a terrible tragedy happens back in March of 1985. 2 beautiful people shot and killed. Pastors, husband, wife, in a church. Rising Daughter Baptist Church, shot and killed. And the witness who was there said that it was a long-haired, blondish white person, right? And they actually did some photographic sketches of this. And here's what we had developed. This came over from, once again, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Something that you'll see pretty regularly, right? Somebody draws, goes to a sketch artist and flesh out a couple different sketches. And what do we get? We get a guy that looks just like this. And it looks pretty... it resembles what we heard from the witnesses, doesn't it? A white guy, some blonde hair going on, and then once that's sort of implanted in the law enforcement agents' minds, they start looking for that, don't they? And then they come across this young man. Here he is, Dennis Perry, circa 1979 from a family photo, right? A white guy, lengthy, like they said, with long hair. Now, this is not necessarily blonde hair, but and you can see where they're going with this. And so you take a look at this guy. We take a look at this guy. It's pretty close, isn't it? Well, good news is that a Glenn County Superior Court judge granted a motion to dismiss the case. Scarlett last year gave Perry the chance for a new trial after DNA recovered from the crime scene matched a different suspect during the reinvestigation of the case. He also ordered Perry's release from prison while prosecutors decided whether to refile charges, which is perfect. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. It says, there are times when seeking justice means righting a wrong. While this case was prosecuted prior to my administration, the new evidence indicated that someone else murdered Harold and Swain. Perry maintained his innocence, said that he knew that eventually someone would see the truth. This indictment has been hanging over my head for 20 years, he said. Such a relief. The Swains were killed inside the church. Perry was convicted in 2003, largely on the testimony of his ex-girlfriend's mother. Ex-girlfriend's mother sent this man to prison for 20 years, who said Perry had told her he planned to kill Harold Swain. So what's going to happen to her, right, if she's still around? Any repercussions for her? The state didn't disclose to the defense that the woman was paid $12,000 in reward money for her testimony. The state didn't tell the defense that the ex-girlfriend's mother of Dennis Perry was paid $12,000 in 2003 to testify. Reward money. So what happened? This fake testimony came in. Perry received 2 consecutive life sentences in prison. 2 consecutive life sentences. New DNA evidence has cast suspicion on another man. Authorities were led to that suspect after reporting by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution found his alibi was fabricated. Did you see that? The Atlanta Journal-Constitution investigated another suspect and found his alibi was garbage. The Georgia law enforcement officials took his word for it. And they apparently gave another woman $12,000 to come in and testify about this guy. And he got 2 consecutive life sentences. We are thrilled that Dennis and his family can now begin the long process of recovery, said Jennifer Whitfield, an attorney from the Georgia Innocence Project. It takes so little to convict, and yet there's so much to undo a wrongful conviction. 20 years for something you didn't do. I didn't do it. 20 years. Oh, we think you did. 20 years. Lying witness, incompetent prosecutors, or malevolent prosecutors. I don't know. Here he is. He's out. He's going to have a statement for us. Let's listen in, see what Mr. Dennis has to say.
I just want to thank everybody that was involved in the case. I just want to thank King and Spalding, the Innocence Project, the Georgia Innocence Project, Judge Scarlett, Keith Higgins, all of them for looking at my case and finding the truth in there, looking for the facts, and to reopen the case back up and to follow it, just to see that I was innocent. And I just want to thank all of them for that today.
So, yeah, I mean, prison will change a person, very, very, very significantly. 20 years, probably a good portion of his life has been in there. Man, it's something. Okay. Well, his attorney gave us a little bit of a statement as well. Let's see what she has to say. Is this the end of things for Mr. Perry? Are there going to be some repercussions? What happens when you put somebody in prison when you steal 20 years of their life? Is he going to get an apology? You just heard from the prosecutors that they're going to decide whether or not to file charges again. I guess not, right? Because his DNA wasn't there and he didn't do it. So now he's exonerated. He's out. Let's see. Is his attorney done? She quite done? Let's see.
And obviously, how does it feel as well after coming out of the courthouse today?
Well, we're very privileged to represent Dennis and to have been able to play a role in helping Dennis win back his freedom. This is the end of Dennis's legal battle with respect to his indictment, but we know it certainly isn't the end of the burden that he has carried and the wrongful prosecution of him. He spent 20 years in prison. Mr. Perry was in prison for 20 years for crimes that he did not commit as a result of prosecutorial misconduct. It took Herculean efforts, new DNA evidence, and a just and fair judge like Judge Scarlett to look at the evidence and finally do what Jackie Johnson and the prior DA's office refused to do, which was to recognize that Mr. Perry is innocent of these crimes. And so today is a great day, and we're celebrating with Dennis that the world finally knows what has been obvious to us for so long, which is that Dennis is innocent.
All right, so I believe that was Jennifer Whitfield over from the Justice Project, the Georgia Innocence Project, and kudos to her, major victory there. Also, let me translate what she's saying there. She's very diplomatic about that, and I appreciate it. But what she said there was, we're going to sue the ever-living pants off of everybody, the entire state. You're all getting lawsuits, so just get ready for it. And she's absolutely right. Did you hear her say in there, prosecutorial misconduct, right? That was the government had an affirmative duty to prosecute the case properly, and they didn't do that. So she was using that phrase. She also said an abuse of discretion, right? Maybe a lot of this evidence was brought to these prosecutors and said, listen, this alibi is garbage. This other guy didn't do it, and so on and so forth. And a prosecutor looked at it and said, yeah, he did. I'm not reading that. I've already looked at this stuff with that smug, egocentric face that they always have. That basically we've seen this a million times. Take it or leave it. And Well, now they're going to have to pay the consequences for it. And so we'll see what that number looks like, but hopefully it is a significant one, as it should be. My question, of course, is always, well, what happens to the woman who was paid $12,000 to make up some nonsense? What happens to the prosecutors? Why? So the prosecutors are going to be fine. They're all going to be protected by qualified immunity. There's not going to be any repercussions, personal for them or criminal for them. They are probably not even practicing law anymore. It's been 20 years. So they're probably retired and, off riding into the sunset. So who cares if they lose their law license or anything like that? They're not going to have to pay a fine. They're not going to go to jail. And meanwhile, they were involved in a situation, negligently, very likely, something that was an abuse of discretion, something that was prosecutorial misconduct that resulted in another man going and losing 20 years of his life, and his family losing 20 years of their lives because their loved one was out of custody. So it's reprehensible conduct. I wanted to make sure we called it out here. Congratulations to the Georgia Innocence Project. Congratulations to Dennis Perry. And it's very, very good news. Let's jump in and see what's going on over in the chats. Over on YouTube, I see, let's see, Lady Zaga says, Robert knows well how the DA review their case. Tort reform, but won't hear it, comes from playing hockey. We have Zorro says, by the standards of Mike Nifong, prosecutorial misconduct, 20 years in jail, the prosecutor should get 18 to 12 hours of jail. Yes, see, okay. We've got some K-Beans over there on YouTube. I'm just giving shout outs over there. Over on watchingthewatchers.locals.com, we're going to check some form questions that came in, and I just clicked the wrong button. Oh, sorry about that. Want to know is there. We got Relic Hunter. Arctuarians joined us. No doubts in the house. We also have 3 girlies. Good to see all of you. Let's take a look at some of the questions that just came in on the forums, if there are any. Yeah, we got a handful of them. Let's see. We got Dennis Perry. Sharon says, I'm really glad to hear about the exoneration of Dennis Perry, but how will he get those 20 years of his life back? He won't. He absolutely won't. Those are gone. Those were taken from him. Those were stolen from him by our government. So he's going to get some monetary compensation surely. How much would you take 20 years for? How much money would somebody have to pay you for 20 years of your life? Anything? Is there a number? If somebody came in my office and said, Rob, I'll give you $100 billion. You got to give me 20 years of your life. I'd say, I don't want that. No, I don't want that or need that, right? Because there's nothing as important as your time. And what happened here, it was stolen from him. Reprehensible. LT13 says the FBI agent and the informant in the Whitmer case text message where the agent tells the informant, I have a few goals for today, and then proceeds to tell him who to invite. Wow. Okay. So those are juicy, spicy meatballs. I'm going to take a look at those. If I was on the jury, hard to believe in an ex-wife's mother. There's an impartial witness. Yeah. Right. On cross-examination, how do you, as a defense lawyer, not eviscerate that? You just go to the jury and say, listen, this is his ex-girlfriend's mother. Anything else you need to know on this witness? Not credible. Get her out of there. Probably didn't work though, obviously. 3 Girlies says, I see a big fat lawsuit leading to a very big fat paycheck in Perry's future. No question about that. And his attorney was pretty, kind of diplomatic about it, but they're going to get a nice payday. We have Cove Queen 043 says, can we make this a regular thing, a happy moment to counter some of the sad? I was thinking about that. Maybe we'll just have like a little, some good news more often. Not sure if I'll do it every day, but there should be some good news. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there. It's a great suggestion, Cove Queen. I appreciate that. Nadarb is here, says, what if judges and the others involved in the false imprisonment had to serve the same amount of time that the innocent had to serve? That might change a little bit of their behavior, right? If they're going to penalize somebody, I've said this about the false accusations for rape too, right? What if a person says that I was raped and that person loses everything and they go to prison for 10 years and it turns out that never happened? Well, what happens to that other person? The response to this argument is that would chill speech. This argument has been made before many times, but it is the idea that if you create some penalties for reporters, then people just won't report anymore. Don't know if that's true or not, but I think it feels good, but I don't know how that would work in practice. Thunder7 says, hi, Rob. Next time the woke Dems talk about racist America, just point out this case along with so many white men convicted of crimes they never committed. In Canada, there's a famous case of David Milgaard, who served something like 20 years like this poor guy, and Paul Morin was convicted, all exonerated by DNA evidence. It's fantastic that they were all released, but how many people that are innocent do you actually think are in prison? It's a scary thought and it's a scary number, but I think it's a lot more than anybody would let on. It is a it is a scary system. And look, you know, I don't even necessarily think about it in those terms. I think about how many people are in prison for non-violent, non-dangerous, basically victimless crimes. That number is very high. If you look at the prison data, my friends, it's insane here. We have the highest number of people in prison per capita, right? So we have more people in prison, like more physical number of human bodies in prison than China does, right? They have 1.3 billion people. We have 370 million. They've got a significantly more amount of people, and they have a smaller total volume of people in prison. That's our problem, not theirs. Okay, we live in a prison happy society, and it's too bad. Renal MD, the doctor's in the house, says, given the fact that the Innocence Project has evidence it's less likely to be him and the prosecutorial misconduct, wouldn't another filing by the prosecutor be problematic, and couldn't it be negative for them? Could they use a promise not to prosecute to get an agreement from this poor guy, not to sue the government? So they could try to do that, but he would never do that, right? He would never agree to that. He is going to sue them, and he absolutely should. And he should sue them for a lot. And they should all pay for it, for what they had done to this man. All right, next up, we've got Speech Unleashed. And I saw a super chat come in from Chris Walney. We're going to get there also. Thank you for that, Chris. We got Speech Unleashed says, this is exactly what scares me about the legal system. It seems like a lot like a game of egos, and who is the better lawyer? Big egos. Oh my gosh. Massive egos. And you can get into situations like this, right? This is why I've never been one of those lawyers that is always like scorched earth. There are scorched earth attorneys out there that they want that brand, right? They want to be that person that goes out there, files every single motion and claws over every period and you know, battles it out over everything. Well, it's a strategy. It's fine. It's sort of on one end of the spectrum. There's also lawyers on the other end of the spectrum who just roll over for everything, right? They never fight. They never take cases to trial. They just sort of never file substantive motions or do anything that really is, combative in a court of law, because they're trying to sort of get by on their charm and their charisma and their smooth talking and all of that stuff. But that is also, I think, not an effective strategy. And so I think there's a better framework for being an attorney, and it's somewhere in the middle, somewhere where you find comfort, turning it up into kind of psycho mode. We're going to file motions and we're going to go nuclear when it's appropriate. But I know lawyers, that's just their standard setting. Every morning they wake up, they just want to go destroy somebody, which can be very effective in certain cases, but it can brand that lawyer as an a-hole, right? And then you start to get into these games of egos where it might actually harm your client, I think, more than it helps, because you're dealing with a prosecutor who's going to start off giving you a bad deal because they think you're an unreasonable lawyer. Conversely, you can have lawyers who look like they're pushovers, where they never get good plea deals or anything like that, because they know, the prosecutors know, that this attorney's, you can just steamroll right over them. So it's, I think it's kind of an interesting, it's a very interesting field. This is why they call it practicing law. It takes a lot of work, a lot of years to find that frequency. Sharon Whitney is here, says, lawsuit, woohoo, you got a lying witness, prosecutorial misconduct, hope he gets a train load for those lost 20 years. Yeah, so do I. All right, we had a super chat come in from Chris Wolney. Let me see if I can pull that up over here. We've got, Chris is here, says, if the real criminal who got away victimized more people, the former prosecutor and official should be prosecuted as accessories to those crimes. Yeah, interesting. That's a good comment there over from Chris Wolney. Of course, that would never happen, right? It's not going to be anything. Those prosecutors are going to be completely protected by qualified immunity, and I don't think anything comes of it. Miss Lucky is here with Sgt Bob is in the house, says, I'd like complete info on the role of DNA. I appreciate your part in seeking justice. Incompetent investigation must be questioned. This is from a sergeant in the house, my friends. We have a sergeant here, okay? A liaison to law enforcement is here and saying, hey, I support incompetent investigation being questioned, which just makes sense. So do I, Sgt Bob and Miss Lucky. Thank you both. I hope to see you on Saturday. where we're doing our monthly Zoom meetup, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. We also have 3 Girlies is in the house. Says, I really wish he could file civil lawsuits against the detectives personally and the ex-girlfriend mom. There is nothing that will give him his life back. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I think there should be repercussions. If they're going to, it's almost like murdering a person, just differently. 474 is Aircraft Mech 123 says, while this was the happy segment of the show, is it really? Or is this just another example of our system failing? It's true. It's kind of both. It kind of depends if you're going to be a glass half full kind of guy on this topic, right? And I typically tend to be optimistic. This is certainly, I'm not saying that you're not an optimist, Aircraft Mech. I understand that you're joking. This is a good news because this guy got out of custody, but it is horrible news that he was in custody. So it's sort of like bittersweet. It's like, oh great, he got out of 20 years of prison. Why was he there in the first place? That's like it's a horrendous fact that exists. So I totally appreciate what you're saying, Aircraft Mech. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a horrible symbol of a failed system, but it's good news. He's out of custody. So we'll celebrate it. Oh my gosh. It makes me emotional, man, these stories. It makes me emotional because 20 years. All right. We have LT13 says, Joe Rogan had the Innocence Project lawyer on twice, and they decided he would come on quarterly to highlight cases. I wrote this earlier. Oh, yes. So thank you, LT, for re-hitting that. I go in order, and so if you ask a segment from a later, if you ask a question from a later segment early, I'm going to probably miss it and forget to go back to it. So thank you for resubmitting that. I think I listened to that the last time he was on, and that guy was excellent. I love the idea that there are more people having these conversations because this is something that we can deal with as a society right now. We have full control of our justice system. We can just pass some laws, get some momentum, and really reform the system. There are other things that there are a lot of debates about, like the coronavirus and how do we deal with that and what's proper. It's a new thing. Our justice system has been around for a while. I think we can make some serious changes, but that's not going to happen under the current administration. We already know that. They have already made successfully the flip-flop from being pro-justice reform to now being pro-police. Did you see how they did that? It was very impressive. I mean, I'm impressed. They did a good job of just sort of, BLM is all about, defunding the police, and we're just going to slowly sort of, just kind of move you over here. And now all of the BLMers are like, oh, we support the police now. So fund them up. You have Jen Psaki out in the White House saying the Republicans defunded the police, not us. It's wild. It's wild times we're living in. Very impressive. We have Be Brave says, are you saying that China's social credit scoring system is keeping more people in line and out of prison? I don't think I said that. Maybe I did. I don't believe that if I said that. If I implied that. I'm not really into a Chinese social credit scoring system in any way, shape, or form. I think I'm missing a joke or something. It's good to see you, Be Brave. I apologize for botching whatever I just did there. I'm Not Gas says, Mr. Gruler, I'd like to posit a question if it pleases the court. Should Dr. Pepper hold a license if Mr. Pibb can adequately do the same job as a layman? Well, this sounds like a case of sort of, mistaken identity. Identity is always a very critical component to any criminal case. We often have identity hearings just to confirm that the government says you are who you are. So should Dr. Pepper hold a license if, I'm not sure this is really a criminal legal question. Well, look, I'm not a big Dr. Pepper guy in general. I have to just acknowledge that. So I'm having a little difficulty with this question. If I had to pick a Coca-Cola beverage, it would be Coca-Cola. In fact, this is a great question that I've heard of many times. What do you call it? Coke, pop, or soda? I would love to see what the chat has to say about that. Coke, pop, or soda? I am a Coke person. I call all the bubbly drinks Coke. That's just how I was raised, but I think it's different in different parts of the country. Different areas say Coke or soda or any of those other things. All right, so a couple other questions. We've got, so over on YouTube, and so we got soda, pop. Speech Unleashed says pop. Wise One says soda. Coke, soda from Joe Snow. No Doubt says Coke. We have Coke, pop, soda, Coke. Dr. P, soda, tap, Coke. Absolutely not Coke, says Crystal Owen. So absolutely not on that one. Soda pop, says Clint Burrows. We have Fresco. That is from Alt-Nac. A lot of soda. Dr. Poop is there. Soda, Coke. It's cocaine. Soda, cola. Cola is a good one. Pop over there. We got not Coca-Cola. Soda. I'm from Pittsburgh. A lot of people say pop. Yeah, pop. Osak says beer. It's just beer. It's all the same thing. It's all beer, and there you go. I think that kind of lumps it all into a bunch of other stuff. We have somebody's asking me my opinion on an Arizona revised statutes. I need to know more about that. My opinion on the statute is probably that I'm not happy about it. If it's charging you with a crime, I'm probably not happy about it. All right, I think we got two more questions over from the forum. Let's see. LT13 says that was also the lawyer that blasted Kamala for extending sentences for work and for holding evidence. That's right, LT13. I remember that. That was a very good interview. Yeah, he skewered her as she deserves it, because remember, Kamala Harris was making fun of people in prison, saying that they're begging for food. There's, water and food, thank you. Poking fun at people in there. Ridiculous. NY Renal MD says, notice how the press has finally allowed the Biden administration to flip-flop on COVID-19 vaccines, police reform, and sentence reform. Yeah, totally. Total flip-flops. Finally, Dr. Pepper is prune soda, which seems criminal on its face. I agree with you. I don't even know what it is. Dr. Pepper, okay. All right, I guess it's a thing. So, all right, great questions. Thank you all of those. We got one more coming in hot. I'm Not Gas says it's pop in the Midwest, soda in the East, Coke in the West, and cola if you're a patrician. Oh, it's so good. All right, well, I'm learning things. So it's soda in the East, Coke in the West. I'm in the West, so that's why we get Coke. Oh, that's funny. Somebody says Fresco. That sounds bougie. Yeah, so we'll all upgrade our drink. Excuse me, sir, I'd like a Fresco, please. Wow, a Fresco. Honey, that guy just ordered a Fresco. He must be very famous. Well, it's like that Seinfeld where they're eating their Snickers bars with a fork and knife. It's bougie as hell. Give me a Fresco and a Snickers bar with a fork and knife. Okay. So those were great questions. All of those from watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We had some great super chats as well that came in. Let's see. And we had Chris Wolney. We caught that one. And so thank you for that. I'm going to work on the formats with the super chats, and we'll see if I can get those to look a little bit better, but it's baby steps. You can see what's going on in the office. I'm just moving stuff around, and I'm going to patch that wall up. You see, I got some paint over here and some spackle. I've got some other disposable paint kits over there, so I'm going to patch that whole sucker up. And we're going to get this thing humming again, back in full order. I'm a little bit embarrassed, kind of like when that person shows up at your house, you're like, gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I haven't cleaned up. So it kind of feels like that, but we're all here, and I appreciate you having fun with me as we're evolving on the show. And so those were all the questions for the day, my friends. I want to thank everybody who is a part of the show. I want to welcome some newcomers who came over last week. This was last week's welcome. This was this week's welcome. I'm going to be updating this for tomorrow. So if you don't see your name on here and you signed up last week, you'll see your name. It's coming. I forgot to update the slide is really what it came down to. But shout outs to George Klaus, Trump, Went 1736. Shout outs to Be a Girl 74, Shelby Behringer, Zhao AI is here, Aircraft Mech 123, very active today. Good to see you, Tim Flynn. We've got Engineer 12 Volt, Blue Tiger Dog, Spisky H Rad, Super Iron Bob, and CBD Rel #1, all for the yearlies. Thank you to all who signed up at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. $5 a month or $50 for the year. If you want to join in on the fun, we have our monthly Locals Zoom meetup coming up on July 24th, this Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Which is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to post the registration link probably tomorrow. If you're already registered, you should get the reminders. And I really hope to see you there if you want to sign up. It's a lot of fun. Cameras on, cameras off. We're just going to do a quick hour Q&A. And, I'm open to feedback, comments, criticisms. If you have any thoughts or ideas for the show, if you have any suggestions for topics to cover, that's kind of what this is for. It's just kind of get to hang out and put names to faces and kind of build a community that we talk about. So we, let's see, taking a look. We got another super chat that came in just from Curtis Bartle. Says, Oh, let's see where that one is. Why is that not showing up? Curtis Bartle with the super chat says, just cause we all love you, dude. I love you back, Curtis. Very much appreciate that. And I'm grateful that we're having, there it is. I'm grateful that we're having, that some of this is working again so that we can have a little bit more interactivity on the show. It's kind of more fun, right? Look at that. Look at that. The police sirens are here. That's fun. All right. So that's all for me, my friends. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the program today. Quick reminder, we're going to be back here doing the same thing at the same time. Hopefully, I see you as well. 4 p.m. Arizona time, 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And for that one Florida man, everybody else have a tremendous evening. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for watching. Before you head out, I want to just remind you that I am a criminal defense lawyer here in Scottsdale, Arizona, where my team and I, we've got a long history of helping good people facing criminal charges to find safety, clarity, and hope in their cases and beyond that in their lives. Our phone number for a free case evaluation is 480-787-0394. You can also find us online at www.rrlawaz.com. We can help with any type of criminal charge in the state of Arizona. Things like DUI, drug offenses, misdemeanor offenses. And we can also help with clearing up old case records, like expunging cases or making sure that you can restore your rights so that you can vote again or possess a firearm again or apply for some other federal benefits. We can remove mugshots off the internet. Basically, anytime that you or somebody you know or love is in trouble with the law in the state of Arizona, we have an amazing team of people. We would just love the opportunity to help. And our phone number, of course, 480-787-0394. And if you don't need any legal services, that's a very good thing. But you may be interested in some informational offerings so that you are prepared if you do have to deal with the police. And of course, I want to invite you to head on over to gumroad.com/Robert Gruler. You'll notice here, I've got several different trainings that are available, including the law enforcement interaction training. This is the 1, 2, 3 rule for dealing with the police. It's one rule you need, 2 questions that the police can ask of you, and 3 responses if they ask you a problematic question. So that's available now. You can also get a load at my personal productivity system here called Existence Systems. Fun little course. And then we have here, if you're a lawyer or a legal professional, be sure to check out this program. We are meeting twice every month. Again, all of this over at gumroad.com/Robert Gruler. And if none of that sounds any good to you, well, just go ahead and give us a follow, because I'm working on some other products and some other offerings. And of course, if you have not already done so, I want to invite you one more time to head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. It's where you can support the show, and it's where we can connect. We've got monthly Zoom meetings and a lot of other goodies coming up. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for watching, and for all of your love and support. I will see you on the next one.